Okay, hello. How are you guys? Thank you for tuning in and checking this out. My name is Mandy Ounlokham, and I work at PT Solutions. I'm on the inside sales team. So PT Solutions, we are tool distributors. We distribute anything. We sell anything from hand tools, machines, safety. If you look here, this is our website. If you want to pan over. This is our pt-tools.com website, and down here is kind of a little bit of some of the things we provide to companies. So we provide these tools to companies, and they use these tools to make items. You can look around your house today and almost everything has been through some sort of manufacturing, and we provide the tools to make those things. How I got into tool and die, I actually used to work at AccuMold here in Ankeny, Iowa, and they're kind of like a micro molding plastic injection company. And if you look here, this is their website, AccuMold. And so I got really lucky working at AccuMold. They actually do this scholarship program. Tool and Die was one of the programs. And so what they do is you can work there and they will pay you can work there part-time, you can work there full-time, whatever your schedule works out for you. And they will pay your tuition. So when you graduate from DMAC, the 2-year tool and die program, you have no debt. You already have a great job where you have experience and you know what you're doing. They do great training over there as well. So I got really lucky with that. And so going into DMAC now from applying for the scholarship at AccuMold, this is their tool and die making page. And this is where I originally went to apply for the program. And you can go on here and it'll tell you about the program, this AccuMold scholarship, and all the requirements there. So after doing the tool and die program that AccuMold paid for, I didn't have to pay anything out of pocket to do this. So having that tool and die degree, I was able to, I went into mold making. And so to explain what a mold and die is, because when I first heard of tool and die, I thought, okay, tool and die, are we dyeing t-shirts? But no, it wasn't anything like that. So pretty much you get the training to be a machinist, and you make things there out of metal. So I brought a little, so say you start with a block like this, like an aluminum block. And you have this tool here, which PT Solutions, we distribute, and this is called an end mill. And so you put this tool into a mill, which is a machine. And I have that machine here. Oh, let me get out of that. So this here is a mill. So this tool would go right into there. And you would have this block laying on the mill, and you can so this will be spinning, and it'll machine and kind of pretty much chip off the metal, and you can create, honestly, almost anything you can think of. And this is something my son and I made on a mill, and it's a little metal Lego looking piece. So this would just cut all the metal around here. So it's pretty cool. So you can really make anything that your mind thinks of. And DMAC will put you through the training, how to do this, the safety, everything. And it's an amazing program. And going through there, I had huge opportunities. For one, I didn't have to pay any tuition out of pocket. For two, I had companies coming to me saying, okay, we'll offer you, this is a machinist position is in such high demand. I had companies coming saying, we'll offer you this if you come work for us. And then I had another company, they kind of bid after you And that's kind of what happened and how I ended up at PT Solutions, where I am a inside sales. So I don't do the hands-on machining today, but all of the knowledge I took from the program about the tooling, how to machine, what tool is going to work best to make what you want. I mean, if someone came and said, no, I want to make this Lego piece, this giant Lego, I know I can recommend the tools to do that. So it's very exciting. And so, yeah, when I first heard of tool and die, I thought, okay, what is this? So of course, like anyone, I get on YouTube and I start watching these videos of tool and die. And I was like, this is really cool. I really want to do this. So I signed up and I got to class and I looked around and I thought, oh, it's all guys. And so I was very intimidated at first. But honestly, all the instructors there, they came up right away. They were super welcoming. They were helpful. Everyone, all of my classmates, my peers, they were very excited. And I didn't feel out of place whatsoever after that. It was an amazing experience. And I got through and I graduated, and I'm in a male-dominated field, but it was an amazing journey, and you can do it if you really want to do it, you can do it. And so I'll just show a quick clip of a promo that DMAC put on, and let me get my screen a little bit bigger. Let's see here. All right, here it is.
Are you ready for the apocalypse? Do you have the tools or the skills to survive? I hate to break it to you, but you're not going to get them in a lecture hall or a library. You earn them with a degree in tool and die making from DMAC. You get the kind of hands-on learning that makes you say, yep, I'm definitely going to use that. Unlike traditional four-year degrees, prepare for high-demand careers without becoming independent. And just in case this does happen, you'll be ready for that too. Can your degree do that?
What, not what you're expecting?
Oh, snap.
That was awesome. That was you, wasn't it?
Yeah. So that I definitely didn't expect that going into GMAC, but I was very grateful that I had the opportunity to do that, and I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to do this and just kind of spread the word about tool and die and a female in the field, honestly, and to add on to that video. I'm a hands-on learner. I don't really like sitting in a classroom or a lecture hall, and I just, knowing that for myself, I thought this would be perfect. I have to do this, and it was really worth it. And I mean, and especially the AccuMold scholarship, how they pay for your tuition and everything, it's amazing. And you don't have to pay anything back. I mean, they do have a deal there where if you do apply for their scholarship, you work for them a year after you graduate. And it's like, okay, so you get free schooling and you also have a job where you get experience, training. It's really great. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I hope you can look at our pts-tools.com website, as well as the AccuMold Scholarship and the GMAC Tool and Die website. So I think if we can open it to questions.
Yes, if anyone has questions, you're welcome to unmute if you would like, or you can also type in the chat box and I can read them out loud. But I do have a question to start with while others are typing, and maybe I missed it, but how long was your program in school? How many years did you go to school for what you do?
That's a great question. I went to DMAC in Ankeny here for 2 years. And then right after I graduated, I had multiple job offers as well as many of my classmates, and I was able to go straight into work.
Can you maybe talk a little bit about like your sales, even though you're not doing like the direct hands-on, but what is it that you enjoy about your current position? You talked about how it kind of really benefited you to have that knowledge and that experience, and it looks like you can kind of play around sometimes too with it too. But yeah, what would a typical day look like for you, and what do you enjoy about it?
So that's an amazing question. So what I do love about my job is, I'm not doing the hands-on tool and die machinist work, but when I do come into work, I have a lot of other companies out there like AccuMold who need these tools to manufacture certain products. And what I really enjoy is sometimes I get a customer emailing me, we're making this medical part, or we're making this test for COVID. We're making this military item. We're making this part for a car. Can you look at this print, or can you suggest and recommend some tools that we can use to make this idea? And it's finding those tools for those companies to be able to make these items that are for medical, for things that are going to help people. It really makes my day. I mean, it's why I come into work.
Great, thank you.
Another question that is in the chat box here is if you can tell around how much someone going into the tool and die field would make when they start out. What's the average like starting salary and that kind of stuff?
I would say, I know it's on the DMAC website. I would say going in, they tell you on the website as well how much you make. I'd say about 40 to 60 after graduation. And even when you are working like even when I was working at AccuMold and going to school at the same time, I'd say it's around that range as well.
Another question that popped in here is how safe is it to work around the machinery that you work with?
Oh, that's a really good question. Very safe, very, very safe. When I first saw the mill machine, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I had never seen it before, but DMAC does an amazing job at talking about safety. You'll have safety glasses on. There's also shields you can put in front of the machines. I tie my hair up when I'm around a machine. They do, there's a whole, I think a whole class in a semester that they talk about safety. And right after that, I mean, I was completely comfortable being around the machines, operating them, and I was very confident in knowing what I was doing and being safe.
Awesome. Another question that's popped up is, what do you like to do in your free time when you're not at work? What are some of your activities that you enjoy doing?
Well, that's a good question, and that's a really good one. I love hanging out with my son. He's 8, and I like so before the whole COVID, I would be able to bring my son into DMAC even after being graduated, and we would go in and we would machine items like this. We've gone in, we've made a little Captain America shield and a little Thor hammer. Anything with machining, he loves it. And I also love seeing how his mind works. I mean, anything you think of, you can really make.
Fantastic. It looks like we do have another one here that is, how heavy are some of the tools that you work with or sell?
Oh, so um, it the range is really huge. I mean, there are some machines like this mill here that is CNC. So a CNC mill, this is manual, by the way. So manual, I would manually be bringing the cutter down. I would manually be bringing the table around and cutting the sides. So the CNC mills, it's all programming, and they teach you all of that when you go through the program. And there are some CNC mills that are as big as this room that you can stand in. There are molds that are, I'm not very tall, but taller than me. So there's some very large tools, very heavy tools, but and molds and dies. But anything, that big, they have a way to move them safely. They have a way to operate them safely. And then you have tools that are tiny that you need a microscope to see. And that's something they actually do at Actimold. They have very tiny parts, tiny tools. So it's very cool to see.
All right. Another question. Someone is curious as to if you have any pets at home.
Do you have any pets? Actually, I do. I have a fish, and she's a beta, and her name is Mystique. If you'd like to see her, she's right there. Maybe she'll be famous. Let's see if she's floating around there. There she is. She's shy.
Aw.
But I've actually machined some parts that made some plastic parts that are safe to put in her fish tank. So, I mean, you can really do anything with this degree. You can make jewelry, you can make car parts, you can machine some plastic. She has like a little tunnel she swims through. So it's really amazing.
Are there any, there is one other question, I guess,
I love
well, there is one more question, then I have a question. So before I ask mine, I'll ask the one that was in there first. How hard is it to get into, oh, we missed one too. So there's two questions. Do you have this equipment at home? And how hard is it to get into this DMAC program?
So at home, I wish I had this equipment, because then my son and I can just be making things every day, all day. But I do not. And that is why I am able to go and visit DMAC, well, before COVID. And they were very friendly about letting us use some of their equipment as long as we were safe and we cleaned up after. And oh, how hard is it to get into the program? So actually it was the smoothest thing getting into the program, because so the tool and die program, they have like counselors, they have people you can contact to say, I said, hey, I'd like to get in this tool and die program. What do I have to do? And they kind of held my hand through the whole way with what I needed, the requirements they needed for me to get into the program. I believe there was maybe a test, and they have all the requirements on their website as well. But it went very smooth. Any question I had, someone was there to answer it. Anything I thought I maybe couldn't do, they worked around it. So and I urge you, whenever it is available again, you can call DMAC and set up a tour. You can call Actimold and set up a tour, like, go to these places, go and look at them, go and see what everyone's doing, see if you like it, you know, see if it's something that interests you. You can definitely do that. And as well as PT Solutions, you can always call as well and set up a tour or just like a one-on-one meet if you wanted to talk about tooling or how to get into the program, anything like that. Everyone's very, very helpful.
Awesome. All right. Does anybody have any last questions? We have time for maybe one more. And then we will go into our brain break. But I can ask one last question if nobody else has one. It doesn't look like it, but so my last question for you, and then we'll move into our brain break, is what would your advice to youth be if they are interested in going into the tool and die program right now? So what would your advice to them be now if they're interested in the future?
My advice would be to take the classes while you're in high school. So the amazing thing about Tool and Die, they offer classes in high school that you can take and it will go towards that program. So you take these classes while you're in high school. After high school, you go into the program and you're pretty much have almost a semester done. I wish someone would have came to me when I was in elementary, middle school, or high school and told me about this program. And so I'm hoping this is touching you guys. I hope this is getting somewhere with you guys. Take as many, even if it's not the Tool and Die program, take as many classes in high school as you can that go towards the college credits.
That is great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. All enjoyed that little brain break and are ready now for Tony. He is a social worker and a play therapist. So the floor is yours.
Thanks. I'm going to share my screen too, because I have a little PowerPoint. It was this social work is very different from our last kind of, from what Mandy was talking about. I'm excited to Mandy talked about being in a male-dominated field. Social work is definitely a female-dominated field. I don't know if you guys planned that on purpose, but so I'm Tony Raymer. I'm an LISW, so that means I'm a licensed independent social worker, which means I can do social work and nobody has to watch me doing it. And I'm an RPTS, so that's a registered play therapist supervisor. So I do play therapy, which is using play to help kids, anyone really, and use play to express themselves, communicate what's going on in their lives, and learn about themselves and their world. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about kind of how I got here, what social workers do. I'll show you a couple of videos about what social work might look like, and then answer any questions you might have. So I started out delivering pizza from the day after I turned 16 at Paul Revere's, and then did it while I was at Wartburg College, where I got my 4-year degree, my bachelor's degree in religion and psychology. I was certain I was going to go on and be a priest. Actually, I'm an Episcopalian, so that's what we call our pastors, and do social work within the church. I did a summer internship in Hollywood, y'all, but not with the stars, with the homeless, trying to help an organization in West Hollywood advocate for affordable permanent supported housing, which is really an apartment building for people who are homeless, where they get an apartment, they get somewhere where they can live for the rest of their lives if they want, and there in the building with them are all the supports and services that they might need to live a successful life. But people were not excited about having it in their neighborhood, so they had a organization advocating for permanent supported housing in West Hollywood. After graduating, I joined the Peace Corps. So the Peace Corps does lots of different things in the world, and I was with my wife in Guinea in West Africa. So if Africa looks like this, Guinea is right here. I didn't bring a map of Africa. Right above Sierra Leone, and Liberia, and next to Mali. I taught 9th grade math in the Peace Corps to 260 students, and there was one girl in the front row down at the right, and she learned the math in my class, and that was about it. And we did 7 months of the Peace Corps, and had to come home early because of political and civil unrest in Guinea. And so my wife got a job, well, a volunteer thing doing AmeriCorps with a refugee program here in Des Moines. And so she had that volunteer gig, so I had to get a job. And I first got a job at Come and Go, I believe, as an assistant manager. I attended 1 day of training at the corporate office where my trainer worshipped the ground that Roller Girls sat on. And at the time I was doing also the Polk County tax auction, which is just, you sit there with a thing, and if they call your number, they're like 48295, you raise your hand and someone bought tax debt. And I got offered a job doing group therapy and working with kids and families in their homes who are affected by mental health and learning skills to manage their illness. And so I quit my job at Come and Go. I didn't return to the next day to the tax auction. They were very upset about it. And started working at Optimate. And there I found the work that I was meant to do. So I knew I wanted to do work with people who lived at the margins of society, as in weren't fully involved in social life, who people look down on, who people judge, and really helping not only those folks who make those judgments see people differently, but help people become a full part of society. And so now I work with people primarily with disabilities who aren't always a part of, that may find it hard to get work, may not have a lot of friends, may not have a lot of social relationships, may not know kind of how to act and behave socially. And so my work is helping them learn the skills to be able to do that and become full contributing members of society. I ended up going to graduate school to get my master's in social work. So up to this point, not a social worker. Got my master's in social work, started doing therapy, and here I am now, right? So now for the next couple of weeks, I work at Candeo. After this, starting in April, I'll be the director of brain health at Easter Seals. Easter Seals has a big camp here, and between Des Moines and Ankeny, does a lot of work with people with disabilities actually across the state. So how do we learn how to do this, to do social work, right? So most social workers have a master's degree, not all of us. Many social workers do have what's called a BSW, or a Bachelor's of Social Work, which is a 4-year degree. But those of us who are doing therapy work have a master's degree, and that's anywhere between 1 and 3 years after your bachelor's degree, depending on kind of what you got for that bachelor's degree. So it took me 3 years part-time to get my master's degree. And then what you learn in graduate school, becoming a social worker, is how to do all of social work. And you'll see social workers are everywhere. And we do all kinds of different things. And so grad school teaches you how to do lots of different things. And then you decide kind of, what am I going to do specifically? Do I want to work on social policy? Do I want to do mental health work and therapy? Do I want to do play therapy specifically? Do I want to work in schools? Do I want to work in the hospital? Do I want to work with veterans? Right? You figure out kind of who do I want to work with? What kind of work do I want to do? And then you learn how to do it. And then you practice it, right? Our clients are our best teachers. And social work is, though not nearly as hands-on as tool and die is, so Tune Play Therapy is pretty hands-on. it's still something that to get good at, we have to really intentionally sit with folks and practice our skills. But why do this as social work? So I believe social work really invented the idea of core values. Every organization, every company, every school now have these core values they plaster on their walls, right? Social work has had core values for a very long time in our code of ethics. And one of those values is social justice. Social justice is about making change in our world, making it especially for people who are vulnerable or oppressed, or for groups of people that are vulnerable and oppressed. Our change efforts as social workers are really focused around poverty, unemployment, discrimination, and other forms of social injustice. And so no matter where we're doing work as a social worker, we're pursuing this in the world. So let me show you what social work might look like. So this is a play therapy activity. Obviously that's me. This is Teresa. I used to work with her. She is not my client. But this is going to be an example of a play therapy activity I did before COVID with kids and families. So I'm going to zoom through a little bit of this here.
All right, so pom-pom.
On. There we go.
Teresa, I'm going to hide this somewhere on me, okay? And you're going to find it, but you got to cover your eyes because you're a peeker. Close your eyes, cover them. Okay, all right, where am I going to hide? Okay, I'm ready.
Let me see behind your ears. No. Open your mouth. Open your mouth.
I don't usually.
Shirt pocket.
Is one here? Nope.
Under your toes. No. In your hand. Up your sleeve. In your pockets. Your
My pants pockets. No, not in my pants pockets.
Stand up. Twirl.
Oh, good. Just twirl. Nice catch. Okay, your turn.
Look how happy Teresa was doing this. This is just a little like hiding game. But in this, you help, because this would be Teresa playing the role of a kid, right? You help a family connect better and improve their relationships. And for the kid, this is pretty exciting. Look how excited Teresa is there, right? Sometimes kids get way too excited. And so then the adult's there to help them learn how to bring themselves back down. And then you're really practicing in a very safe, contained environment. Not all like mental health social work is play. This is an example.
All right, so pom-pom.
This is an example of Bill Miller. He's not a social worker. He's English, as in from England, and his a client, and they're doing more talking social work, and they're actually focused on a medical condition. I'm going to show you this one. I'm not going to show you the whole thing. It's pretty long.
What?
Oops.
The minutes talking about your weight. You are joking, aren't you? I mean, look, I've made time in my day to come here. Yeah. I'm kept in your waiting room for 45 minutes. Yeah. It's not acceptable. You know, if I make an appointment with a client for 10, I expect them to start at 10, not quarter to 11.
Right. And so you're busy enough.
And I've got other things to do. I've got accounts to do. I've got clients that are coming in.
Yeah.
You know.
And it wasn't necessarily easy for you to make the time to come down, and you had to wait in the waiting room. And now I raise the subject of weight.
Yeah, I mean, okay, fair enough. I've got to have my blood pressure medication changed, but I really haven't got time to talk about my weight. I mean, you know, I'm aware of my weight, I'm aware of the problems, and I'm also aware of the solutions. Right. So I don't really need a discussion. It's just I've got too much to do at the moment, you know. Right. And so it's been a bit of a rush for you coming in. Yeah. And I'm sorry about the wait in the waiting room. It's bad form, you know. Yeah. Yeah. That's not easy for you, because you'd like to go really soon.
And here I am asking you to spend just a couple of minutes with me.
Yeah, but basically I've got things to do. I've got to get back to the office. I've got a pile of work that I've got to deal with.
Yep.
And every moment out of my day means I have to work in the evening or weekends.
It counts.
Or when you're self-employed, you haven't got a choice,
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. It's up to you. Just a couple of minutes.
Well, I'm here now, so yeah, okay, if it's a couple of minutes, yeah?
I promise.
Okay, because I really must get on.
I want to simply ask you how you feel about it.
About what? What, losing weight? Well, obviously, I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't?
Right. So, first of all, I aspire in my life to have facial hair like this guy. So someday, mutton chops. Right. So when we go and we learn how to do social work, we're taught how to interact and talk with people so that we can help them make the changes in their lives that they're looking to make. And, you know, I did talk about how it's about social justice. Like, how is this about social justice? Social work's about empowering people to make the changes they might need to make themselves or to make in their world to make it a more a just place to live in.
I mean, I'm aware.
So Tiffany asked me to share fun facts about social work. So I came up with some fun facts for you guys, right? So people don't know this. Social workers are the majority of America's mental health care workforce. Other options there, I mean, people talk a lot about doctors, about psychiatrists who give you medication for your mental health condition. We have maybe 24 psychiatrists in Polk County. We have maybe 200 of them in the state. We have 3,000, 4,000 licensed social workers in the state of Iowa. There's also mental health counselors and marriage and family therapists, and we have about 1,500, 2,000 of those. And then there are psychologists. If you want to go on and you really want to be called doctor, psychologist is the way to go. You can spend 7 years after your bachelor's degree and be a psychologist. They also do additional testing work, so they can tell someone what their IQ is. Social workers, we have some social workers you call doctor who have their doctorate in social work, but most of us have our master's degree. So our founder, Jane Addams, she was the first woman to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for her work in combating poverty in Chicago with the settlement houses. And a social worker, Frances Perkins, was the first female member, the first woman appointed to a presidential cabinet. And she did a good chunk of writing writing FDR's New Deal in, the early 30s. Ida B. Wells, another founder of social work, right? So she was the first person to talk about and document lynching in the United States. And she really, not only did she help us get women the right to vote, but she fought against racist exclusion of African-American women from the women's suffrage movement, right? We're everywhere. I told you this before, right? There's social workers in every setting you go to, right? So we're in hospitals, we're in schools. We got social workers in police departments and in hospice and the VA, which is social work services for veterans. We have social workers in state and federal legislatures, right? We have Marty Anderson, a couple other social workers here in Iowa, but Marty Anderson's my state rep. And federally, we have folks like Barbara Boxer, who's a social worker from California. And Joe Biden's daughter is a social worker, actually. Social workers as ambassadors and the Red Cross, there's social workers working in substance abuse. You name it. We actually had a social worker working in the NBA, working on kind of mental health work with basketball players, right? So social workers work everywhere. Yeah, really social work, through all that work though, is about making this world the place that people are looking to live in, a just place where people can achieve what they want to achieve, can really fully be a part of the community, and real full participating citizens. That that is everything I had planned to talk about, but I'm happy to answer any questions anybody's got.
Yes, so once again, if you have any questions, you can type those into the chat box or you can say them out loud. It's up to you, but I can start us off because I do have a question for you. And that is, what is your favorite aspect? Like, what's your favorite part of your job that you do?
I love getting down on the floor and playing with kids, and really like helping parents kind of learn what their kids can achieve and what they can do with them. Yeah.
What would you say is the most challenging part of your job?
So a lot of what we do in mental health social work is sitting with people through really hard stuff, death of a loved one, bad things that happened to them, and so it can be hard to hear that and experience that with folks all day, every day. So I think that kind of remembering to take care of yourself and do what you need, and have the strong boundaries is probably the hardest part of the job.
That actually leads us very well into our next question. Someone asks, isn't social work stressful? So how do you practice self-care in your profession?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, social work can be stressful. Everything can be stressful. For me, so one thing I practice is remembering kind of who owns that pain, that I can experience that with you, but that's not mine to carry around all of the time. I like to do some woodworking. It kind of similar to what Mandy was talking about with the die spinning. I do some wood turning, which is you put a piece of wood on the thing and it spins around, and like to make bowls and trees. I also like to read, and I get lots of sleep. Like sleep's super important to me, so I do not sacrifice my sleep for just about anything. Trying to exercise and walk more. So I just learned I need to get some new shoes. I have old man feet.
I was gonna ask a question, but they said that is great advice for anyone to remember who owns the pain or whatever the emotion is. This is what they followed up with. Well, first of all, it's funny you're the third Wartburg grad that we have
Wartburg
had.
College, you rah rah rah.
Yeah, we didn't plan it that way either. So so I noticed that earlier. So my question is. Now I just lost it. I'm so focused on that. Oh yeah. Okay. So it's similar to what Megan had asked Mandy, is what advice do you have or recommendations if someone might be interested in this, things that they can do leading up to it? And also what are some skills or qualities that you think would, it takes to be a strong or a good social worker?
Yeah. Yeah, I forgot to mention kind of something like, I'm not sure how old you all are. But things that you can do now that kind of help prepare you to be able to do this kind of work in the future. Lots of folks do volunteering things where they're out and involved in their communities. Maybe they're volunteering for an organization working with people with disabilities, or volunteering at the food bank, doing things where you're sitting down and advocating with legislators, right? They're, especially right now, we're in the legislative session. They're still holding, or they're holding virtual coffees and town halls on the weekends, and going and holding them accountable to what is important to you and your community that they're voting on. And at the Capitol right now is social work, right? That's social work and practicing it now. So I'm someone who hires people and fires people. So the things that I'm looking for most are a real direct experience in the field, working directly with whoever is going to be your client. And there was another part of that question that I forgot, Tiffany.
Just like what are some important skills or qualities to make a strong social worker?
Yeah. So social workers have strong communication skills. That one of the differences between like a degree in social work and psychology. Even at the 4-year degree level, we're teaching social workers how to communicate with their clients. And I have a 4-year degree in psychology. We never talked about how I'm going to communicate with my clients. We talked about theory all the time. And so social workers are practicing that. How do you do it? Which is really active listening, empathy. You saw Bill Miller doing it when he told that gentleman whose name I don't recall, and what he was feeling and experiencing. That's empathy and showing someone that you recognize it. There's a lot of kind of personal organization skills that go into doing social work as well. That being able to kind of know what you got to get done and how to do it and be systematic about getting your stuff done. There's rules and paperwork and that sort of stuff that go with it.
All right, there is another question that popped in. And it is, what is the most challenging part of getting your degree in social work?
So it can be challenging to folks when they're getting, especially their master's degree, kind of, we all don't feel well prepared necessarily to go out and do the work. This is hard stuff to do with people. And I still don't feel prepared every day, and I've been doing this for a little while. And so that kind of overwhelm can be there. It's a lot of years of education, right? And yeah, there's some writing and some research and stuff that goes along with it that isn't everyone's favorite part of it. But you're getting your social work degree from social workers. So you're learning how to do social work from people who really live it and love it, and it's part of who they are, and they exemplify those values of human relationships even in your education. And so you're getting a degree that expects some kind of academic skill from you, but you're getting it from folks who understand and know your experience too, and find it to be important. It can be hard for folks who have their own things that have happened to them, traumatic experiences, bad things that have happened to them. Lots of us come to the field because of that, and we have to kind of manage our own stuff before we can do that work with our clients, right? So if you're coming to the field of social work because of a difficult kind of childhood, having done your own stuff, done your own therapy, to work through that so that you're coming into it to help others and not to help yourself.
Very good. It looks like there's one last question here, and it's just, how long have you been practicing social work and play therapy?
So I got my first job in 2007. I got my graduate degree in 2013. So I've been doing play therapy since 2013. And therapy since, the fall before that, the fall 2012, because your last part of your graduate school we call it a practicum, but it's an internship where you're doing the work in the field.
Very good. I believe that is the last question that.
Thank you for watching. For more information on Polk County 4-H programming, connect with us by email at polk4h@iastate.edu or by phone at 515-957-5760.